إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار أما بعد قال الله تعالى في كتابه أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم واستفزز من استطعت منهم بصوتك وأجلب عليهم بخيلك ورجلك وشاركهم في الأموال والأولاد وعدهم وما يعدهم الشيطان إلا غرورا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us what he said to Iblis when Iblis refused to make sujood to Adam and refused to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Iblis wanted respite and he wanted to live till the end of time, and he did not mind, and he showed arrogance to Allah, and he didn't mind going to hellfire. This is where he wanted to go, but he wanted to take with him as many of his enemies' children as he can, the children of Adam alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to him, then take as many as you can from them, because the sincere will follow me, and the sincere will follow my prophets and my message, and when the truth comes to them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this verse, he tells us what he said to Iblis. And in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains to us the tactics that he uses to recruit and to take people to hellfire. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and incite to senselessness whoever you can among them with your voice, and assault them with your horses and your foot soldiers, and become a partner in their wealth and their children, and promise them, but Satan does not promise them except a delusion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this verse tells us how Shaitan, the steps he will take to achieve his aim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاسْتَفْسِز, and belittle them, make them feel ignorant from those that you can with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you, with your sound and your voice. So what is this voice? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it clear that Shaitan is using a voice. This voice is no other than the voice of al-ghina bil-lahwi wal-ghina, as the Mufassirin say. It's the music that he uses to lure people, to bring people into his circle of disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He uses the music, he uses everybody who is eloquent and is able to express his objective and his aim to recruit, to use people who are able to gather as many people as they can with their voices, with their arguments, with the abilities of debate. Even in speech, in some people's speech, there is a form of magic. They can change people's minds and their perceptions and influence their way of thinking through the sound. So everybody who is calling to shaitan is the army of, within the army of Iblis and shaitan. Everybody who does haram is calling to shaitan, to the disobedience. Everybody who's calling to the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using, shaitan is using his voice to fulfill his duty. So the first thing he has, and the most powerful weapon that shaitan has, is the sound. That he is able to use people, to use their voices, especially music, because within the music people don't know the words, the lyrics that are behind the words. They're just busy with the music, the musical instruments in the background. So he's able to impart his ideas into the people's hearts with music. وَاسْتَفْسِزْ مَنِ اسْتَطَعْتَ مِنْهُمْ بِصَوْتِكَ, with your voice. And anybody who is calling to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, anybody who's calling to innovation, anybody who's calling to nifaq and hypocrisy, then shaitan is using him to recruit and to take people to hellfire. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says, وَأَجْلِبْ عَلَيْهِمْ بِخَيْلِكَ وَرِجْلِكَ, and use your horsemen, and your foot soldiers. So who are the horsemen and the foot soldiers of shaitan? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it clear to us in many other verses. And here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that He has two types of armies, soldiers. Some who are riding, they are the ones who are the masterminds. They don't go on the ground, but they're on a high level, and they're the ones who are committing the haram, calling people to the haram. So every person who is riding to haram, who is mounting something to go to haram, then he is from one of the horsemen of shaitan. Everybody who's walking to the haram, he's one of the foot soldiers of shaitan. This is how shaitan is achieving his aim. So when a person is walking to the disco, or he's walking to the nightclub, or he's walking to a job where he's earning an income haram, a haram income, then he is the foot soldiers, one of the foot soldiers of shaitan. And anybody who is using shaitan is using this person as a means of achieving his goal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also tells us that shaitan would share people's wealth. وَشَارِكُمْ فِي الْأَمْوَالِ. Everybody وَأَمْرُهُمْ إِيَّاهُمْ بِالْإِنفَاقِ أَمْوَالِهِمْ فِي غَيْرِ طَاعَةِ اللَّهِ وَاكْتِسَابُهُمَا مِنْ غَيْرِ حِلِّهِ. Anybody who's using his money in a haram way, then shaitan has a share of that wealth. Anybody who is involved in riba, then shaitan has a share in that wealth. وَشَارِكْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْوَالِ. This is the musharaka that he's doing. He's in a business to achieve his aim and his goal, which is hellfire. People become partners with shaitan through interest, through investing in haram, through gaining their money through haram. They are in this partnership, whether they know it or not. Shaitan is belittling them, keeping them in this state. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says, وَشَارِكْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَوْلَادِ, and also be a partner with them in their children. How does shaitan do that? Anybody who is falling into zina, anybody who's fornicating, who is in a relationship out of wedlock, and children are born, know that the shaitan has a share in that child. He has a share in that child because he came through a haram means. He was born in an illegal, illegitimate way. Anybody who doesn't bring their children up Islamically with the good tarbiyah, they know that he is allowing shaitan to take a share of his children. As the Prophet ﷺ told us, كُلُّ مَوْلُودٌ يُولَدُ عَلَى الْفِطْرَةِ, every single child is born on this fitrah. But it's the parents that change the child into a Jew or Christian or Zoroastrian. It's the parents who are allowing shaitan to fulfill his goal by bringing up a child which is going to worship him, worship shaitan. And anybody, when he is having this intimate relationship with his wife, if he doesn't say Bismillah, then he's allowing for shaitan to take part in this conception, in the forthcoming of this child. So this is what shaitan does. He's using his voice. He has foot soldiers. He has people who are. He has the horsemen. He is taking part in people's wealth, and he's sharing them in people's children. And he promises, وَعِدْهُمْ وَمَا يَعِدْهُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ إِلَّا غُرُورًا. And shaitan promises, if you do this, you will become healthy. If you earn more money, you will become more happier. If you take this opportunity of going into haram, you'll be better off. Shaitan promises. But on the Day of Judgment, he would say, Allah has promised you, and I have promised you, but my promise was a lie. I did not force you to follow me. All I did was I called you. So don't blame me, blame yourselves. So this is how shaitan works, and why a person might question and say, why do we know so much detail about shaitan? Why do we have to maybe scare ourselves talking about shaitan? Because the Quran has done that in detail, so you know what you're up against. And this is your number one enemy. So it's necessary. It's a necessity that we talk about this. That shaitan is using all he can to share your wealth, your children, your lives through these techniques of using sound and music, by having you as a foot soldier. If you are walking to haram, if you are riding to haram, and he would promise. So people will call to shaitan and fall into the shirk and the disbelief, and he will be achieving his aim. As we know, the Prophet ﷺ told us in many ahadith that we should be protecting ourselves and our children from shaitan. When we are entering our houses, we should be saying Bismillah, and shaitan will be able to come in. And if when we're eating we say Bismillah, shaitan can't eat from our food. There's many ways that we can protect ourselves from shaitan, but lo and behold, the reality is that many people are inviting shaitan to their lives, to share in their wealth, to share in what they have. And this is happening even in the Muslims' lives, whether they know it or not, but this is the reality. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase our iman. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us firm on iman and to give us the tawfiq to die on La ilaha illallah. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين من كل ذنب فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. As we know, living in this country, there are many festivals and celebrations that we don't know what the origins are. People make it out like as it's something normal, it's modern, has no connection to religion. And one of these festivals or these celebrations that we witness every year is Halloween. Now, before anybody starts putting decoration on his window shop or in his office, ask yourself, does this have any connection to religion? Does this go against Tawheed? If it's not Christian, it's not from Christianity, then where is it from? Halloween is the devil's night. If we'll call it that. That's a better name than calling it Halloween. Halloween, it's one of the forms of Shaitan's tactics to engage people in shirk and in kufr. The origins of the Halloween is not a Christian. It's not from a Christian background, but it's from a paganism. It's from paganism and from shirk. Was probably from the Germans or somewhere from there, because you can see this country has been influenced by the country, by who conquered this country, whether it was conquered by the Anglo-Saxons or the Vikings. You can see that there is this culture of shirk which is not really connected even to Christianity. Halloween is not a Christian, some people might claim, but looking at and analyzing the essence of this, it's a paganist celebration. If you look at it, it's all about ghosts, children going out at night. You have these parties and these tricks and trick or treat or magic. Three things will tell you that it's a celebration or it's a night for the shaitan. One is that it's at night, that's when the shayateen come out. Two, there's this mentioning of the devil. Some people are dressing up like the devil, the blood, and you find these magic. This is what shaitan does. And also, all of this can only tell you find also the celebration. It's a night for people a time when people are celebrating, listening to what we've just talked about, the sounds of shaitan, or people who are warding off the ghost and the evil spirits, which is again worship and shirk, worshipping shaitan. It said in the 1930s in America, the Devil's Night was actually the night before Halloween. It was the night when the youth used to go out and cause a lot of chaos and burn houses. And you can see, I would actually rename the Halloween the Devil's Night, and this is all it is. So people are using their money, their wealth, to please the shaitan. وَشَارِكُمْ فِي الْأَمْوَالِ, and they're using their children to please the shaitan. The children are the ones who are taken out to go out and act like the magicians, to say a trick or a magic trick. And this is what our people are doing today. People are allowing shaitan to settle in their lives, whether it be portraying this image of shaitan. That shaitan, it seems like as if shaitan is the one that these people are calling to, that is going to take away these evil spirits, and it becomes commercialized. Because a business goes wherever the money is, wherever there's a demand, without looking at, is it halal or haram? What's the ethics, the values behind this? What am I promoting? So, as a Muslim, it will be very foolish for somebody to follow a practice which looks as if it's Christian, but it's a paganist culture. لو دخلوا في جحر ضب لدخلوا. If the Prophet ﷺ said, you will follow the footsteps of the Jews and the Christians, even if they were to enter the hole of an animal or mole, then you would follow. And this is the reality. Why are the Christians doing this? It's not from Christianity, it's from paganism. And then if we as Muslims follow, what does this make us look like? Exactly what Shaitan wanted. To make people look foolish, to take from their wealth, share their children with them, to share their time, and make them be entertained in this way until they forget the real purpose of life. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq that we are able to remain steadfast on this true religion, this religion which is Hanif, which calls to Tawheed, which calls to Al-Aql al-Salim, the correct understanding, that we, with the aid of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, are able to achieve in our lives and to benefit from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to put barakah in our wealth. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to put barakah in our children. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to put barakah in everything that we have. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq to read the dua when we're entering our houses and when we're coming out, and when we're eating, when we're going to sleep, and when we are with our families. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the ability that we're able to trust in you, O Allah, that we truly believe and we're sincere to your call and to worshiping you, O Allah. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه يا رب العالمين. اللهم انصر إخواننا المستضعفين في كل مكان. اللهم انصرهم يا رب العالمين. اللهم عليك بأعدائهم أعدائك أعداء الدين يا رب العالمين. اللهم يا رب العالمين، اللهم اغفر لموتانا وموتى المسلمين واشف مرضانا ومرضى المسلمين يا رب العالمين، واقض الدين عن المدين يا رب العالمين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار، وصل اللهم وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين، وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر، أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن